Hey guys, so I'm back, and as I promised, this is the theater video from my Berlin trip review about the day that I went to Fulda to see Friedrich Mythos and Tragödie. It's now been, gosh, exactly a year since I saw it, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. But I had to get up really early because my train left from Hauptbahnhof, from the Berlin Hauptbahnhof at 5:31 a.m. I wanted to make sure I got to Fulda with plenty. It was about a 3-hour trip, and I wanted to make sure that I got there with plenty of time to, get myself orientated and find where the theater was, and just make sure I could get where I needed to be by 2:30 when the musical started. So I got up at like 3 to get ready, and then called Braun to make sure he was up because he, since it was so early and it was still dark out, we figured it'd be best if I had a friend escort me down to the Hauptbahnhof to make sure I got there okay. So I made sure he was up, and we met up in the hotel lobby at like 3:30 or so, and we walked to, because the buses weren't running yet, I don't think, and the trams weren't running yet, because it was so early. We walked from the hotel to the Pankow U-Bahn station and took the S-Bahn from Pankow to Friedrichstrasse, and then got on the express shuttle because all the like U-Bahn and S-Bahn trains running into the Hauptbahnhof were currently not running through the Hauptbahnhof due to some track maintenance. So we took the express shuttle, the bus shuttle from Friedrichstrasse to the Hauptbahnhof, and it ended up not taking as long as we thought, so we got there around 4:30. So we waited around in the Hauptbahnhof at the platform and chatted, grabbed some snacks out of a vending machine. Then train got there, and I boarded I said goodbye to Braun and boarded the train and got a window seat by myself, and so began my next 3 hours. Not an awful lot happened. The lady came by, stamped my ticket, and other than that I really didn't interact with anyone because I was in a row by myself. I listened to some of my music for a while, got kind of bored, tried to take a nap, failed miserably. I just enjoyed the pretty countryside, and then around 8:45-ish, the train pulled into the station at Fulda. So I got off there and then found my way out of the station, which took a little bit because I don't have the greatest sense of direction. And then I found a map and typed up the directions on my phone for how to get to Schlossstrasse, which is where the theater was, and it was really easy. You just went. I ended up realizing there was no need for me to get there so early because literally you walk down Bahnhofstrasse, which is where the train station was, walk down there about a block or so, you get to a road called Linden, and you turn right on Linden, and then you go all the way down to the end of the road, and at the end of the road it turns left and turns into Schlossstrasse. So it was literally like a 10-minute walk to get to the theater, because once you turn on Schlossstrasse, it's right there. It's just right there. But it was really, it gave me a lot of time to get familiar with the town and explore the gardens that were near the theater. It was really fun. I went through a hedge maze, which was neat, just to pass the time. Took a bunch of photos because it was a really nice day. It was sunny, hardly any clouds, just spilling my drink all over my lap. But it was really pretty and really nice and warm. Unfortunately, a bit too warm. I was in this nice black dress that I had actually made myself, because it's the thing I do. I make some of my own clothes. But I was in this nice black dress that I had made for myself, pretty much specifically for this occasion. So it ended up getting really warm, and I grabbed lunch back at the train station. I walked back to the train station, grabbed lunch there, got a nice little, like, sandwich and just, like, a drink, and then walked back to the theater thinking, it's only about 1 o'clock-ish, 1:30, so I may as well just sit on the bench outside the theater and wait, just to make sure I was there when the doors opened. But that is when things started to get odd for me that day. Like, the first part of the day was, aside from getting up ridiculously early, was pretty normal for me. Not an awful lot exciting happened. But as soon as I made that decision to sit outside the box office, that's when my life started to get interesting that day. So I sat down on the bench right next to the box office, and again, this bench was in the sun, so it ended up getting really, really warm. I was there for maybe 15 minutes before it started to get really way too hot for me. So I thought, you know what, I'll just get up and move to the one across the way in the shade, and that will be nice and comfortable. I look up from my phone, because I had been playing around on my phone. I look up from my phone just to make sure, the bench is unoccupied so that I can go sit there. And anyway, so there was this guy with really pretty blonde curly hair sitting there, so I thought, may as well just stay on my bench till he gets up and leaves, because I hardly spoke any German. I didn't really want to bother this person by asking them if it was okay if I could sit there. So I go back to playing on my phone, and for some reason, my brain decided to be like, hey, wait a minute, that person has blonde curls. Tobias has blonde curls, and Tobias was one of the lead actors from the musical, Tobias Beauty. He played young Fritz. So I thought, just because, hey, it's, right next to the theater where they're about to perform the musical that Tobias stars in, and there's this guy sitting right outside the theater with blonde curls, just like Tobias. Surely that must be him. But then I thought, no, can't be. He's probably already in there getting ready. Because I know with theater, call times and whatnot are usually an hour or two before the show, depending on the size of the production. So I thought, surely he's already in there getting ready, because surely it's already call time. Because at this point it was like 1:30, almost 2. So, and the show started at 2:30, so I thought surely he's already in there. So I have this little inner debate with myself, but I just sit there and continue playing around on my phone. And then I noticed the guy get up to go leave, and he gets up from the bench and walks by my bench to go into the box office behind me. And as he walks by, just curiosity gets the better of me, and I turn and glance over at him, and he was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't really see his face very well when he was sitting on the bench, but as he walked by and I could see, beside through the sunglasses, I realized, oh God, I was right. It was Tobias, and I was just thinking, great. One of the, 5 people I look up to in theater the most is right here. I knew, because I was going to watch him perform, that he was going to be right there, but this was one of the first times that this ever happened in my life, so I was just like, oh God. But I didn't say anything. I just went back to my phone, and at this point I put my music back on. And he went I thought he went into the theater, but he actually just went into the box office, which leads me to the awkwardness. The box office, first of all, had open windows and an open door and walls about this thin. Great, fun. When I'm by myself, I have a habit of singing whatever's stuck in my head, or whatever I'm listening to. Doesn't really matter. But on this particular day, at this particular time, I was listening to a few of the songs from the musical that I had on my phone, like I did when I went to Sanssouci. And it just so happened that the song that was on at this particular moment was the song Sanssouci, which in the musical is sung by Tobias. Great. Again, my habit of singing to myself when I'm alone, whatever I'm listening to. So naturally, because of that habit, I start singing it. Not very loud, just kind of quietly. Because I thought no one was around, because the benches were all empty, there was no one on the streets, and I thought the box office was empty because the lady had gone about 15 minutes or so before to get food. And so I thought I was alone, so I started singing it quietly to myself, and then a little bit passed, so I thought, surely it'd be okay for me to get up and move to that bench now. So I get up to go do that, and right as I get up and start walking towards that bench, Tobias walks out from behind the box office, and we were out. If I hadn't stopped right as soon as I noticed movement in the corner of my eye, I would have walked smack into him. But that would have been the most awkward thing to happen that day. Thankfully I didn't run into him. I did just suddenly stop short and looked kind of startled. He glanced over at me, smiled, and walked off, and in that moment I was like, oh God, he heard me singing. I was less embarrassed by the fact that I almost walked into him, and more embarrassed by the fact of he had to have heard me singing his song that he does in the musical. And so not long after that, the musical started. They opened the doors and got my seat, and I had like second row middle seating, so I had really good seats. It was amazing. I cried so much. It was beautiful. I laughed, I cried, I have never had so much fun in my life. Like, honest to God, this was the best day ever. So, during intermission, I actually bought the DVD for the musical, so I have that. Before the musical started, I had bought the full soundtrack, so now I have the full soundtrack, and I actually know most of it by memory now. And then, after the musical ended, I bought this little tiny notebook, and I bought the shoulder bag, the messenger bag for it, which is now my school bag slash theater bag, and I bought the official songbook. So I have all the songs for piano and all the words. So I bought those things, and then I went back out. I left the theater and went to go sit on actually the same bench where I almost had the awkward encounter with Tobias to organize my things before I went back to the train station to wait for the next 2 hours for my train to leave. And as I'm sitting there, organizing my things and, glancing through the songbook, I noticed these three, ladies in their maybe mid-30s who had been sitting behind me in the theater. I know they had been sitting behind me because one of the ladies was wearing this really, really pretty turquoise dress that just really stood out amongst all the other people in their darker colors. So I noticed them walk by, glance down the pathway to where the gardens were behind the theater, and kind of freak out and really hurriedly walk down there. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Curiosity got the better of me. So I got up and walked to glance down there to see what it was, because it was really, really close to the bench. And I glanced down there, and The person who had caught their eye was Chris Murray, who was another one of the lead actors. He played older Fritz. And I was like, oh, great. My number one, like, theater idol is right there. Great. Like, as much as I look up to Tobias and Maximilian, who I unfortunately didn't get to see, because he was working on something else, he wasn't there that day. The person I look up to the absolute most in theater is right there, like 20 feet from me. I was absolutely terrified, but I walked down there and joined the ladies there, and he talked with everyone for quite a while, and then they got, you know, autographs and pictures, and then the three ladies left, and then he turned to me because I was the last one there, and I was the only one who hadn't talked yet, and I must have looked so scared, but he started talking to me, and like, I got his autograph, and he misspelled my name, and my name's spelled with a C, but I just told him that my name was Cat, and he assumed it was with a K, like everyone does. Literally everyone assumes that. But I got his autograph, and this is kind of now one of my most prized possessions. But we talked. I told him that I had originally seen him as Jean Valjean in Les Mis in the 2004 Berlin production, which is also where I found my other really big, like, theater idol, Christian Alexander Müller, who played Javert, who was the understudy for Javert in that production. But I told him that's where I originally found him, through that, and then through his work in Les Mis, I found him in this, and that was actually how I found out about the Friedrich musical, which he was quite happy about. He told me that Jean Valjean was one of his favorite roles to do. And he actually asked me about if I had seen the 2006 outdoor production, which I have. I have to say it's not my favorite. But yeah, so we talked a while about theater, he asked me what I'm studying in college, and I told him it's since changed. Like, at the time I was studying to be a teacher, but that's since changed to theater. And I told him how much I like history, and then he decided to kind of quiz me a bit, which was really fun, and we ended up getting along really well. And he kind of, towards the end of our conversation, asked me to find him later on Facebook so that I could keep up with his stuff and whatnot. And that was really cool. Now we're actually Facebook friends, and it's great. But yeah, I ended up getting 3 pictures with him that day, because I gave his friend who was there my camera to take the picture, because he was the one who had been taking all the pictures, and he took the first picture, and then Chris was like, no, wait a minute, and like pulled me into this like half bear hug, and so there's a picture like that, and then immediately Chris did this, and and his friend took another picture, and that last one's actually my favorite. My face is so red because I'm just like, why is this my life? But I was too excited at that point to wait around anymore. So after I was done talking with Chris and I got my camera back and everything, I kind of just started walking back to the train station rather than stick around to meet anyone else. And I kind of regret that now, because I would have really liked to meet Tobias. He's one of my absolute favorites. I still hope to actually go back and see another production of anything with him in it one day and get to meet him, because he seems like a really cool person. But yeah, then I went back to the train station and waited for my train, and then got on my train, took it back to Berlin. The train ride back seemed so much shorter because I was still just so excited from everything that had happened that day, and I got back to Berlin at like 10 p.m. And walked all the way back to my hotel. And that was that was Fulda, and God, I was so excited that day. That was the best day of my life so far. But that's all for now. I will be back soon to talk about what I did the last Sunday that we were there. It was the day after Fulda, and it was kind of an emotional day. It was when I went with Braun to Kustrin in Poland. And that was another really intense kind of emotional day. But that's all. That was Fulda. That was the best day of my life. I will see you guys next time.